Awesome. All right, settle yourselves into a comfortable position. And then when you're there, just allow your eyes to close or your eye gaze to soften. And then breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Bringing yourself completely into this moment. It doesn't matter what the rest of the day has brought to you. Doesn't matter what's about to happen in the forthcoming week. All that matters is this moment. So feeling every single breath right from its beginning to its end. Observing all the sensations. And just visualize even more space. And that could be space within your mind, that could be space within a certain part of your body. Wherever it feels like your body needs that bit of freedom. So this may be a bit of a challenge as we move throughout, but see if you can focus on your breath the entire time. Because often thoughts do crop into our minds. And that is okay. That is definitely okay, because we need those thoughts, don't we? But we also need to give ourselves a little bit of space and a break where we can just enjoy the present moment. So bring your attention back into your physical body. And make your way onto your hands and knees. So hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. It's going to take a few rounds of upward cat. and down the cat. To bring a little bit of freedom and movement into the spine. Grounding the shins, grounding the hands. And if it feels good for you, you can just have a little move around and a little wriggle of your hips, with your back, anything that you feel like you need right now. Maybe there's a few little cracks along your back. Or maybe there isn't. Maybe it already feels free. Just explore that space. And then our first pose for today is going to be mountain heart. I'm shuffling back so I don't disappear out off the screen. So you're going to reach your hands forwards. Keep your hips over your knees. And then rest your head down towards the floor. Now there's several ways that you can do this. If that already, you know that's already feel a little bit stressful for you, you can place something underneath your forehead so your weight isn't pressing down onto your head. If you feel like your legs will lift off the floor really easily, you can place something across the backs of your shins to hold you down. If you wish to, you can even sit your hips back and find child's pose instead. So your choice. Now here we're aiming to feel the heart melting. So allow your chest to become a little heavy and then it melt down towards the floor. If you wish to, we can add in a little deeper stretch to the backs of the arms. So we bring the hands into a prayer position and around the head and the back of the neck. And the elbows squeeze in a little bit closer towards the side of the head. And then you can just get that feeling here that you're dragging the elbows back along the floor. We're aiming for an intense sensation, but not the most intense stretch you can create. Something that's going to be able to offer a little bit of a challenge for a period of time. So another way that you can change this sensation for you is by using 2 books or 2 blocks. Placing your elbows on top of the blocks. Letting the head then rest onto the floor and the hands rest at the base of the neck. So this helps the chest to drop a little deeper towards the floor. This can sometimes be a challenging one to hold. So breathe through it. Maintain that concentration of your mind onto your breath. Feeling the ribcage expanding sideways towards the back of the body and down towards the front of the body. You're going to spend 1 more minute here. Allowing the legs to relax, the hips to relax. Feeling the space around your chest. Again, dropping that a little bit deeper in these last few moments here. And then before you move out of the pose, if you've got any props, remove them out of the way. And you're going to thread one arm underneath the other armpit. So your shoulder rests roughly in the center of the mat. To thread the needle. Again, you can do this in child's pose. So if your bum's right down to your heels and towards your heels, you can stay there. And then the arm that is still reaching out along the mat, you can slide that back, create a 90-degree arm bend. And then use this as a little bit of assistance to lift that shoulder up and over the bottom shoulder. So we get that rotation through the spine. And as you do that, just notice if your hips have started to move in a slightly different way. If they have, see if you can anchor them back down just by pressing gently down through the shins. Eye gaze turns to the same direction that your chest is facing. And if you wish to, you can place anything underneath your head or even underneath the shoulder if you find that your shoulder is quite far away from the floor. still exploring where your breath is moving into your body. Maybe it's completely filling the ribcage. Maybe it feels a little bit more restricted. If you do observe a little bit more of a restriction, just allow the breath to be a little softer, a little gentler. The more relaxed your mind and your body feel, the more comfortable the pose becomes, in physicality and in the breathing. I'm just going to take 3 more breaths here and then we'll change side. And when you're ready to unspread the arm, spread your other arm across to the opposite side. Rest your shoulder somewhere level with the center of your mat, the central between your 2 legs. Find that rotation through the mid part of the back, so the hips stay still. And we're still creating as much space as we can in between each rib of the rib cage. With every inhalation, creating a slightly larger space than the previous inhalation. Take 3 more breaths here. At the end of your 3 breaths, gently unravel You're going to make your way into a seated position with your left leg stretched out and tucking the sole of the right foot to the inner thigh. We're going to side bend here. So if you already know that this is going to be uncomfortable or tight on your hamstrings or lower back, place something soft underneath the knee. And then here, because we're going to spend a few minutes into this side bend, make yourself again as comfortable as you wish. So you can rest the arm on the top of your head. You can create a little pillow for your head underneath. If you feel that you can't quite get low enough to rest your arm onto your leg, you can place something in between to fill that space. But the most important thing here is to get this rotation through the ribcage and the torso. If you feel that it's a little bit achy on your bent leg because it's hovering itself off the floor, again, you can place something underneath it, so then that just takes some of the muscular effort out of it, and it enables you to relax a little bit deeper. So yeah, this pose is going to be great for your body in the places that you need it. So everyone's going to feel something slightly different. Myself personally, I feel it more in my side, into my lower back. You may notice it more underneath the armpit, in the upper part of the ribs. You may notice it more in your hamstring. You can tune into the feeling of your breath moving. So if you can feel the right side of your rib cage pulsing and expanding up and out on the inhale. And on the exhale, feel the space close back together as the lungs empty. Maybe you focus on your hips melting into the ground on the exhalation. And relax the shoulders. So I'm just going to spend 5 more breaths here. I'm going to turn the chest and the torso over the length of the leg. So you may want to adjust your other leg into a position that enables you to square your chest over the leg. You may want to have something underneath the knee or not, your choice. You may want to feel the space here between your chest and your thigh. Again, you may notice it more in your hamstring, you may notice it more in your lower back. and the side of your back. If you draw your belly in just a touch, and then just tuck the chin down towards the chest and get the rounding through the upper part of your spine. Crossing the right hand over to the outside of the left leg a little bit more. And then as you're breathing in, feel the back of the rib cage really expanding. And as you let the breath go, so you can just fall towards the floor. And this is not about trying to get your hands to touch your feet. It's not even about trying to get your chest to touch your leg. It's about breathing into the space in your body. Giving your body what it needs in this particular moment. Taking 5 more breaths. And slowly, with no rush at all, making your way out. Doing any little movements that you need before we transition over to the other side. And then setting yourself up there in a similar way, maybe padding underneath the knee on either or both sides, tucking the sole of the left foot into the right inner thigh. Then we begin with the side bend. Left arm over towards the right side. Maybe supporting the head with the bottom arm, or maybe not, not sure. If that makes it feel as if your bum's starting to lift off the floor, come a little higher up. Or find another position where you can just be in and really experience the sensation down your spine. If the arm's overhead, just try and get the arm really resting on top of your head, so it takes some of the muscular effort out of holding the arm up there. And as you breathe in, almost feel your chest rotating. Feeling the heaviness through the legs. And the lightness through the upper body. Accepting the challenge, knowing that moving is probably the easier solution right now. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the one that's going to give you the best result. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And then we transition over into the fold, making any adjustments you need with your legs to find the comfort filling the space with cushions or blocks. Almost pressing the spine back a touch to get more rounding through the spine. It's not necessarily the way that this posture is always performed or practiced, rather. Again, it's just listening to what your body needs in the moment. So if you need more space through the thoracic, through the upper back, create that rounding. It allows the intercostal muscles a little bit more space between each rib, which allows the breathing to flow in an even easier way. Just take 3 more breaths here. And then ready to make your way out of the pose. The one that's really comfortable on that side. When ready, remove the props. We're going to place 2 blocks along the floor, or if you've got something like a bolster that you can use the bolster, or books, maybe to make it a little bit softer, place a cushion over the top. So here, just making like a T-like shape with the blocks. You may want it to be a little bit higher up. Then I'm going to tuck one leg in, so the heel comes next to the side of your bum, and then the other leg is going to reach out in front. If this is too stressful for your knee, you're welcome to have the feet together and the knees wide instead. And this is half saddle pose. As you lay down onto the block, the block is going to rest around this part of your back, so it's the mid part of your thoracic spine, so the rib cage. If you can, try and bring your inner thighs next to each other here. And then the other block is going to rest underneath your head to stop your head from tilting all the way back. And then spread your arms in the position which feels like your body needs the most. So either the arms resting by your sides, arms out to the side, or maybe reaching them into a V shape overhead, or a snatch grip position, or directly overhead with the arms more level with the ears. So you pick the place that works better for you. Now here we get a light stretch through the outer part of the thigh of the bent leg. If you don't really notice much there, you may not be particularly tight in the area, or your knees may be flaring out to the side a little bit too much away from each other. So if they are, just bring the knees in so they're close. If this is a position that you're used to practicing and you want to do both legs at the same time, then you're welcome to do that as well. Whichever position you choose to rest in, make sure it's one where you can allow your body to soften into it more, to relax more. So it doesn't feel like it's going to be really stressful for you to hold that space. If it feels like the block is pressing into your spine,
then you know that you've gone a little bit too low. Okay, just 5 more breaths here before we change side. The end of your 5 breaths, or if you're ready to move sooner, bring your arms down by the sides. Use your forearms to just prop yourself up enough to unhook the bent leg and then to swap it over for the other. So as you bring that heel in, the top of the foot is going to face to the floor, but in the The inner thighs are almost rolling in towards each other here. Gently lower yourself back down and then just notice if your pelvis is starting to tilt more as you do that. If it does, just glide the hip down towards the floor. Maybe even hold it down as you set yourself up on the other side. And then again, choose a position for your arm. You may want to choose a slightly different position this time. And then just seeing if you can allow each vertebra of your spine to melt over where the raised surface is along the back. Remember, if this causes any aggravation in the back off. And just imagine the flow of your inhalation running down the inner seam of your thigh of the bent leg down towards the kneecap. The part of your knee which is closest to the floor. On the exhalation, try and feel the softness of the muscle growing. In other words, they create even more of a dissolved feeling through the muscles as you exhale. Feeling the shoulders soften as well. going to take our last few breaths here. And then when you're ready to come out of the pose, gently prop yourself up onto forearms. Lean over to one side so you can remove the bent leg. Remove any blocks or props that are underneath you. And then lay yourself down onto your back and just feel the effects that that's had on your spine and your hips. We're going to finish with a twist. So then bending both knees, so feet are flat to the floor, lifting the hips over to the edge of your mat that's furthest away from the screen, allowing your legs then to fall towards the screen, just with the shoulders down, maybe placing your hands on top of the legs. Alternatively, cross the thigh at the back of the mat over the front thigh as the knees fall towards the ground. This can sometimes feel like one of the hardest ones to breathe through. See if you can take the breath in slowly and let it go slowly. Feeling the ribcage being pinned to the floor as you breathe in. And maybe feeling that freedom and relief on the breath out. Slowly transition to the other side, lifting the legs, uncrossing, sliding the hips towards the front of the mat, crossing the front leg over the back leg and rolling the hips and the knees towards the back of your mat. Noticing if there's any change in this side. Noticing how grounding the exhalations become then. Where it's almost hard to tell where your body ends and where the floor begins. Take 2 more breaths. Freeing on the inhale, supportive and grounding on the exhale. And unraveling the body, slowly and steadily coming back to the center of the mat. Lengthening the legs along the mat and your arms by your sides, or choosing any other position that feels comfortable for you. Feeling the whole body breathe on the inhale. And then the whole body soften on the exhale. Staying with every breath. And slowly bringing your awareness back into your physical body. Doing some gentle movements. The fingers to the toes. Maybe stretching your arms and your legs out. Or drawing the knees in towards the chest. And then in your own time, in your own way, make your way back up to seated.